Hold me closer, hold me fast. This magic spell you cast. This is La Vie en Roses. When you kiss me, heaven sighs, and though I close my eyes, I see La Vie en Roses. When you press me to your heart, I'm in a world apart, a world of roses bloom. And when you speak, angels sing from above. Everyday words seem to turn into love songs. Give your heart and soul to me, and life will always be La Vie en Rose.
In the early morning hours of August the 13th, 2018, in Frederick, Colorado, oil field operator Christopher Lee Watts murdered his pregnant wife Shanann and their two lovely children, Bella and Celeste, as well as their little boy Nico. He buried Shanann in a shallow grave near an oil storage facility where he was working that day. His children's bodies somehow ended up in crude oil tanks there on the location. Watts initially maintained his innocence in his family's disappearance, but was arrested on August 15th after confessing to murdering Shanann in an interview with detectives. He later took responsibility for murdering his own children. Now, why am I doing this? Why are we going back in time to the Christopher Watts days? We've been off that island for a very, very long time, right? And that's okay, I guess. Oops, still sharing my song. We've been off that island for a long time. Now, well, Megyn Kelly has a wildly successful YouTube show, podcast, whatever she calls it. She's independent because Fox ran her out on a rail before they ran Tucker Carlson out on a rail. I don't know. It's like the people at Fox are having to decide, how can we kill our channel fastest? But all that aside, Megyn Kelly, she's doing now I ingest, I called it the Megyn Kelly crime spree. It's not the Megyn Kelly crime spree. She recognizes, along with the whole entire world, how many people are actually interested in talking about true crime. It's so interesting to me that for years and years, nobody would talk about it. And if you tried to bring up a sensational crime, people would be like, why do you want to talk about it? It's so dark. And now, like, it's become the thing. And so when you've got Megyn Kelly, who admittedly, her claim to fame has absolutely been politics. Her show now has become sort of like, I guess, is it like a variety? I don't really, lifestyle magazine type show where she kind of hits the highlights. And so this week, she's doing true crime. So she leads off, and I think I got this clip. Let me see if I've got the clip. And I'm not sure if she strikes channels, but we'll find out, won't we? Here we go.
Hey everyone, I'm Megan Kelly. Welcome to the Megan Kelly Show and to the first day of our Hot Crime Summer Week. Yes, our Hot Crime Summer series was so popular last year, we are bringing it back by popular demand. And we kick off this week with a case that has haunted me and so many for years. I cannot get over it. I need to understand it. And that is the case of Christopher Watts. In August of 2018, Chris Watts murdered his pregnant wife, Shanann, along with their 2 little girls. The murders were gruesome.
So she can't get out of her mind why Chris Watts did what he did, right? She can't get it out of her mind. She can't make sense of it. And they're in the comments underneath, and this undertone during the show. And I would say go watch the show. It was interesting. I mean, it wasn't a, wasn't a bad show. I'm not trying to say it was a bad show at all. But I think it was the discussion underneath. It was the discussion underneath the video that really, I think I felt a little disturbed by. No, not disturbed. That's way too strong of a word or term. There is this discussion that follows that Chris Watts hated Shanann. That's the discussion. Chris Watts hated Shanann. Now, it is very difficult for people that are in the true crime community, whether they're, subscribers or creators. It's difficult for us to get immersed in these stories. And so many of us, we get so intimately connected to the details of these stories that we can weed through these stories and we can throw out the BS and we can keep all the stuff that's accurate and we can do it right off the top of our head. I mean, we got it. We watch these 48 hours or 2020, and as they're presenting their beautifully produced shows, we're looking at each other going, what? That wasn't right. You said that wrong. That didn't happen. And so it was very much like, kind of my experience watching this particular discussion about Chris Watts and then the ensuing conversation under the video. And we're right back to, I wonder why everybody is in search of knowledge, right? I mean, most of us that hang out on YouTube, we're not people that are likely to sit down and watch The Price is Right. We don't watch mainstream media and the little sitcoms. We come to YouTube where we're trying to have like authentic conversations, or we're searching out specific information. And I keep getting I'm curious why people have such a hard time accepting that Chris Watts is a primary psychopath. I said it in the very beginning and people said, oh no, no, you're wrong. He's a narcissist. And I'm laughing. I'm going, okay, well, there's a lot of different types of narcissists. I mean, some researchers in narcissism have made it perfectly normal for everyone to be narcissist. And the reality is we all do have a touch of narcissism. But narcissistic personality disorder, that's a very specific animal, and they're scary people, okay? And in the case of Chris Watts, yes, if you're going to say that someone is a primary psychopath, then that goes along with the kitchen sink that you're also saying they're narcissists. Okay, all psychopaths are narcissists. Not all narcissists are psychopaths. But the very condition of a primary psychopath where there is something structurally wrong with the brain, that the person does not experience corrective emotion. They may experience anger. They may experience sadness. They may experience lust. but they don't experience things like guilt. They don't feel sorry for people. They don't feel a connection to little puppies. There's something different in their brain. They're not thinking, oh, this is how I'm going to be. I'm just going to not care about people. No, it's base. It's far more base than that. It's not there. And they are genuinely confused why someone would watch a movie and cry. And they look at that and they think that is almost robot. I guess maybe Spock from Star Trek. I guess maybe that is sort of an illustrative point that might make it a little bit clear. There's something wrong in their brains. Okay. I don't know how else to say it. So in the beginning, when this all played out, I said, oh, this guy's a psychopath. When it all comes out, when we get the background from childhood and formative experiences and whatnot, you're going to see a guy who is cold, detached, no kind of real relationships in his past, other than relationships that are of utility. And who is the only person this guy has had a relationship with? His dad. Correct? And I hate to say it, but I think Ronnie would do anything for Chris Watts with no question. With no question. Okay? This picture that is on the screen, this is a picture from high school. Look at his eyes. This is a picture from high school. What do you see? Nothing, correct? Those are the eyes of a snake. Those are the dead eyes of a shark. This guy doesn't want to be having his photograph made. He sees absolutely no reason for having his photograph made or being put into the yearbook, and someone has made him do it. And he is thinking about now how he would simply like to bite the photographer in the neck and suck the life out of him. It's not a sweet, loving guy where something went wrong. This is base. There are photographs of Chris Watts as a little boy, and it is that same empty, flat affect. Etienne tout brute. When he met Shanann, she had a mini mansion and a Cadillac. I think he thought he was marrying someone who could give him an upper class lifestyle. So when he figured out there was no money, I couldn't agree more. There was a lot more to Shanann in terms of utilitarian need than simply falling in love. Here's a big clue, and Etienne probably already knows this. Hold on just a second. Hold on, I got a problem. Hold on. Crisis averted. Sorry about that. Okay. Let's see. I was about to comment on. Yes. Here we go. One of the earliest things. Let's say that Shanann's mom or dad was a psychologist. Okay, or a psychiatrist, right? As soon as they heard the story, where she fell asleep on his leg and he sat there for like 2-3 hours without moving, with her, 10-pound head laying on his leg. He didn't move. A psychiatrist, a physician would have been, that's not possible. There's no way a person would be able to sit without moving with a 10-pound head laying on your leg and you not get uncomfortable to the point that you have to adjust. Pain, at some point, pain receptors are going to begin sending, there's different types of pain receptors. There are pressure receptors. And so when you have something pressing on you like that, never ending for a long period of time, it takes its toll. And the brain says, hey, we need to move. We need to adjust a little bit, change the location of this pressure. And yet he sat there for hours, unmoving, letting her sleep. And because she had, or the family and friends and such, because they had no knowledge of the physiology involved, they misinterpreted it. Oh, that's love, man. That's love. How many of you remember a baby, your baby or your grandbaby, you're rocking that baby and she or he goes to sleep, and in the beginning you're like, oh, this is so nice, look how sweet, yeah, oh, I could sit here forever. 10 minutes later you're like, oh my God, my arm's going to sleep, oh, my back is hurting, oh, I wonder if I could just move him just a little bit, don't want to wake him up. That feels so much right? Y'all know what I'm talking about, correct? So the fact that this guy's able to sit there, her 10-pound head, dead weight, lying on his leg, and he doesn't move. He doesn't change position at all. Any doctor, anybody that understood the neurological system, the way the body operates, anybody would have said that is not possible. Was he like on heroin? Like, how do you do that? How do you sit there and not move that long? Even rocking a little baby, a little 5, 6, 7-pound baby, you get tired. They get heavy. You got to move them around and switch your body position, correct? So that right there is one of the earliest signs that could have been picked up on to say, oh, I don't think his brain is right. Neurologically, I don't think he's not like the rest of us. It's not normal at all, not even approaching normal, to be able to sit there and take that dead weight. It's not normal. The brain should have created a compulsion to move, something that he could not fight against, right? And yet it didn't happen. There were so many of these stories. The story of the costumes, where they had the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and they bought these costumes, and they forgot the mask. And so he says, oh, well, I'll go get the mask, which was like a 2-3 hour drive there and 2 or 3 hour drive back. Well, he misses the whole thing. Now, if my husband did it, it would be because he was happy not to be at the get together. But in this case, I think he just is a robot. He's just doing it, right? So Etienne brings up the fact that Shanann, from the outside, it did appear at the time that Shanann had a great deal of money. It's hard to know if he thought that she was simply making a lot of money, or if the parents had old money and she would be inheriting money. It's hard to know that, but my guess would be, knowing what I know about psychopaths, my guess would be that he didn't get that far in his thoughts. My guess would be is he just said, this is nice. Boom. Period. Not a lot of higher order thinking. Just, I like this better than my house. Done. That's all. That's all it took. Now, this is a guy that was giving money to his parents. And then when he and Shanann got together, he didn't give money anymore because now he's giving it to Shanann. Right? He just walked away from his parents. They just left and went to Colorado and didn't speak for several years. Yes, his parents did the unthinkable. I'm sorry, Cindy and Ronnie Watts, if you're listening, or Jamie Watts or whoever. It was unthinkable and unforgivable. Correct? If you don't like the person that your kid is marrying, it is very healthy to say, I wouldn't choose that person, Mary. I wouldn't want to wake up with that person every day, but this isn't my spouse. This isn't going to be my marriage. So I'm going to trust my child, whoever it is that they're choosing. I'm just going to trust them. I'm going to have trust that I raised them well and their choices are good ones. And I'm just going to support my child and what they do. And I don't have to love that person. I don't have to like that person. I don't even have to put the mark of approval on it. And what did Mark, oh Lordy, I forgot his last name. What's Chris Watts' best friend's name? Not Mark. Not Jameson. Mark. Anybody remember? Nobody remembers. Let's move on. His best friend, Mark, said, I always liked Shanann. She's always great. She's pleasant, happy, loving, kind. And yet they always told me these horror stories. And I never saw that from her. I never saw that part of her. Remember that? And then we actually listen as he tells the story of an intense gaslighting campaign by Cindy Watts that ends up making him turn his back. Jameson. So was it Jameson? No, I didn't think it was Mark Jameson. Maybe it was Jameson. Okay, I'm going to thank you, Etienne. Maybe my brain works better than I thought it did. Okay. So look at this high school face. And there are pictures of him playing baseball. There are pictures of him as a little 10, 11-year-old kid. And this is him. This is it, people. Until he becomes an adult, until he ends up with Shanann, and Shanann whips him into shape, doesn't she? She makes him go from a zero to a hero. She gets him all pretty, puts the right clothes on him, gets him the right haircut, turns him into a family man. And you say, but, what do I call myself on here? But Jules, every now and then I'll almost say my real name, but Jules, he played with the children, not very well. Okay. Kind of detached, right? But he was devoted to his family. He did what he was told. That was his survival. I believe that this guy was so afflicted with this primary psychopathy. I think it was so bad for him that he really had a difficult time simply getting along day to day. There were stories about his unusual nature at work. It kind of standoffish, never really engaged. Nice guy. He would help anybody. That's the nice guy syndrome, right? That's the standard for nice guy. Oh man, he'd help anybody. If I needed, to leave 2 hours early, he'd totally cover for me. He'd stay late, do my work. It was great. Does that sound normal? And here's another hint for you Hebristophiliacs. Ye lovers of all things Christopher Watts. Would a nice guy put his 2 babies in the most inhospitable environment on the planet? No. In fact, a real jerk, as Garth Brooks would say, a real asshole would struggle to put a small child, any small child, not their very own flesh and blood, but any small child in an oil vat. There's just something in our humanity that said, you couldn't put a damn kitten in an oil tank. Am I right or wrong? You yourself, if somebody said, I'll give you $1,000 if you'll take this live kitten and drop it down the thief hatch into that oil tank, would you be able to do it? If you think you would be able to do it, put a 1. If it's not no, but hell no, I couldn't do it, put a 2. Y'all watch. There's 70 people in here. Look at the number of people that could not do it. And that would be a kitten. People do kill their wives. People kill their husbands. People kill their parents. Yeah, that happens. Passions get out of hand. People get big ups. You may want to sit this one out and not answer. Okay. I would struggle to put roadkill in there. See there, Martin? 100%. It is there is something in our brain that does not allow us to act out these things. Now, if you come home and your wife is in bed with her boss, you may very well kill the guy, or vice versa. Think of Betty Broderick. She done them in. She said, okay, I'm finished playing this game, right? Game over. People do get hurt, and they do feel like their survival is at stake, and they will do things and act out. They'll kill for money. Who is my exhibit A on killing for money? Alex Murdoch. People will kill for money. But it is a curious, snake-like creature that will kill simply because I liked sex with Nikki better. Sex with Nikki at her apartment was better. It was nice. It wasn't confusing and loud, and it was just nice. And I didn't have little small miniature versions of humans jumping on me and hitting me and demanding that I cook, and me having to give them baths and put them in bed. I don't like that. I don't like those little people taking from me. I like just being at Nikki's apartment, and I can just sit on the sofa, and then sometimes we have sex. I like that there. It's better for me. That is why that family was removed from this planet. Do y'all understand that? The day that he kills them, the day that, well, I think he actually killed them earlier, but the day that he put them in the ground, buried Shanann, put the girls in the tanks. After it's all done and said and done, he's kind of dealing with the real estate lady. He looks up the prices of new Audis. does this seem normal? I'm talking about, does it seem normal from an emotional context? There are a lot of people that when they commit these heinous killings, they are drugged up to the max. And yeah, a lot of it's amphetamine type stuff, but that's not this. The amphetamine stuff is not really associated with this reset. A lot of these guys are resets, right? They're trying to reset their life, do something different. The amphetamine is more of like reactive violence. The deaths that occur are more aggressive and violent in a reactive, aggressive type thing. The people where they're planning and plotting, where the removal of a person from life is a utilitarian need. Courtney Richens is the latest one, I think, that we have this. Many of these people that do this, when they're arrested, they have taken like 4 or 5 times the standard dose of hydrocodone. And you say, but why would they do that, Jules? Why would they take something like an opiate or heroin if they're going to like kill someone? Well, because it's upsetting. It's scary. Well, if you don't love the guy, in the case of Courtney Richens, and I think she's probably psychopath too, but in the case of Courtney Richens, she's killing her husband, the father of her children, and she's doing it 100% because of money. She's in trouble financially. And so she's trying to save her. She's in survival mode. She's trying to save whatever part of her life that she possibly can, rather than being out on the street as a pauper while he takes the kids and houses and all that. So it's utilitarian, but it's scary. If you're a normal person, you have a regular neurological system, it's scary. You're about to do something that could conceivably land you in jail for the rest of your life, if not get a needle in your arm that will kill you. So even if you're not upset that you're ending the life of this person that you've come to blame for all of the problems in your life, even if you're not feeling this humanity that you would give to a little kitten, you're not willing to do it to the husband or the wife that has taken care of you all these years, you at least do it out of self-survival. Your heart's pounding, your hands are sweaty, and you're thinking, oh my God, am I really doing this? Oh my God, I'm doing this. Oh my God, if I get caught, oh my God. Okay, well, I got to do it. There's no other way. So a lot of them will take, the Batman shooter was loaded with hydrocodone. The whole period of time that he was planning it, he was loaded. So it is not uncommon to see this type of drug being used in these rather extraordinary crimes, because it does create a experience of dissociation. It puts a insulation layer between you and the crime that you're committing, and it can be very effective, right? All right. So that we're having this discussion in 2023 that Chris Watts hated Shanann. Oh, no, he didn't. He didn't hate her. Before she left to go to her parents' house, everything was just as it had always been. She's texting her friends. They're having sex like rabbits all over the house, in the closet, in the pantry, in the broom closet. They're having a baby. I mean, there's evidence that she wasn't just trying to make stuff up to her friends, but they're actually doing it. She's pregnant, right? So I think it's fascinating that it's hard for people to accept. It only took 6 weeks. Think about this. It took 6 weeks for his wife and his children to be with, out of the house. So he's not seeing them anymore. And now he's seeing Nicole Kessinger. And he says in the prison interview that he didn't know who he was. That he thought, now listen how bizarre this is. Crazy. Megyn Kelly, think about this, girl. He says in the prison interview that he thinks that if he had been at home where he would have been surrounded by their things, their bed, their chairs, their clothes, their kitchen, that if he had seen their photographs, then maybe he wouldn't have gotten so confused. And people are sitting there listening to this and they're going, oh yeah, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Really? You're going to be married to a man, have children, or to a woman, have children, and all it's going to take is 6 weeks. But if you just had a picture, then you wouldn't detach emotionally? That is not how it works. I got news for you guys. People that are married 10 years, they discover infidelity, whether they go on to get divorced and rebuild a new life, or they try to stay in the old marriage and try to rebuild it, which is very rare that is effective. Even those people, it can take them up to 15, 20 years to get past that primary violation. We don't fall out of love so easily, people. How many people do you know in your own life? They got married to childhood sweetheart or whatever. They get married. They're married, I don't know, 5, 10, 15 years. They get divorced. They go on to marry someone else. And then guess who they're having an affair with? The first wife. Why? Because men find it very difficult to form emotional connections. They have a very difficult time. Their neurology is not wired for frequent shallow relationship. Well, that's not accurate. For frequent trusting relationships. They're wired for they have there is a with the way there are people that talk about evolution, and they believe that the goal, it's all about survival of the species, right? Ensuring that your DNA go on in future generations, and that men genetically, that they're more attuned toward impregnating a lot of people, a lot of women, and not forming deep, lasting love connection, right? That it is the long-lasting love connection that is valuable to them. Sex comes and goes. They can have sex with anyone and everyone, get as many people pregnant as they want to. They don't care. They never think about those women again. It's over. Just look at the Rolling Stones. No, I shouldn't have said that. Was bad taste. Sorry about that. But they're generally their primary psychological connection is to their mother. That's the first. And then the next is to a wife, ostensibly, or a husband, But the research shows us that many, many men, that they can be married as much as 3, 5, 7, 10 years. And guess who they call when there's a problem? Not their wife. They call their mom. That that they don't ever fully, this is not all men, but this is the trend. Think Barry Morphew, for example, that their primary trust is with the mom. That's the mom is the one who won't betray them, won't hurt them, will be there come hell or high water. And to trust another woman is really hard to do. And so it can take a very long time for them to make that leap. And if you are a marriage counselor, you've heard this complaint, haven't you? You've heard this complaint in your office, women saying, why the hell do we have to call your mom every night? As soon as we get in bed to go to sleep, you got to call your mom to tell her good night. It's weird. Sorry, but it is, honey. And yet, where did I get that example from? Someone out there is doing that. It's a fairly common thing. So when men finally accept and trust that wife, and they turn their heart over to the wife now in the same manner that they did with mother, now their alliance is to the wife, not to the mom. They don't tend to keep these multiple layered, deep level relationships. It's too exhausting. And so they'll transfer it to the first wife. Sorry if you're the second wife. I'm safe saying this. If you're married, if you're the second wife or the third wife or the fourth wife, that first wife is always going to be there. It's the way it is. So women, on the other hand, we can have a husband betray us, and we find out about the infidelity on Tuesday, and by Sunday, we're calling the girls together and we're out for a night on the town. Right? We call in the forces and we're handling it. And it won't be long. There'll be somebody else, and we'll fall happily in love with them too. And we just kind of go through life loving people, man. Just making friends. Not all romantic love, but we got lots of friends. We make friends here, friends there. We've always got, in a time of need, a woman has someone that they can call because of the way we're wired. We're a little different, right? So that Chris Watts is the only significant relationship he's ever had in his life was with his father, correct? And yet he marries Shanann. He takes off to Colorado, and that's it. Color me gone. That was not right. I don't care who you are, what we know about people, that should not have been able to happen. He should not have been able to tolerate that. There should have been a transition period. The fact that his mother and his father did not go to his wedding tells me there may be a genetic component here. How do you not go to the wedding of your child unless your child is marrying a meth head, unless your child is marrying someone that is putting her in the emergency room every weekend beating her up? I could definitely support it in those contexts. But you don't go to your child's wedding simply because you thought that she had too many pre-wedding parties? That's weird. So this argument that Chris Watts hated Shanann is inaccurate. It's categorically inaccurate. I don't think he hated her at all. I don't think he hated the children. I think that he would have lived out his whole days doing exactly what he was doing if Shanann had never left. But when Shanann left, his mirror left, his connection to the world left, and he felt completely disconnected and numb. Nicole Kessinger steps in. She becomes now the primary mirror. He's now at her house doing her bidding, reflecting whatever it is that she's doing, simply as going through the motions, not any sort of emotional commitment, just this is survival. sort of like a little duck implanting on the guy that comes along and saves them from the nest, right? Or like the hungry dog you pick up on the side of the road. You pick that dog up on the side of the road, they have no reason in the world to trust you. None. But they're going to totally go with you because they don't know what else to do. The man is only alone a couple of weeks, and he was in that much need of someone telling him what to do and how to do it. In some ways, you got to wonder, would those kids, would that woman still be alive today if she had never left and gone to was North Carolina? If she had just stayed there, there never would have been a motivation to follow Nikki. It is not normal to say, after only 6 weeks, I didn't know who I was. If I had stayed at my house, surrounded by our things, where I could see their photographs, then maybe I wouldn't have gotten so confused. Does that sound normal to you? You don't need photographs of your children to feel connected to them, do you? He did not hate Shanann. Shanann was his brain. Shanann was the thing that gave him a trajectory. What Chris knew, he didn't understand anything about the world. He did not understand why people do what they do. He doesn't understand. He doesn't understand it. But when he's with Shanann, he knows that he is expected to go to work, do what the boss tells you to do. Then he's supposed to come straight home. Then he's supposed to bathe the children. And then he's supposed to have sex with Shanann. That gave him trajectory. It gave him the objectives of the day. He didn't have to think. He didn't have to have preferences. I don't think he did have preferences, actually. And so when she left, he's rudderless. He doesn't know what he's supposed to be doing. Okay, well, this chick is telling me to come with her. I'll go with her. And she was manipulative as hell. I'm not sure that old nasty Knickers knew exactly what she was messing with, but I don't think it was any kind of mistake for her to say, hey, babe, let's go to the Mustang Museum. Let's go to the car races. No. She had been stalking them. She knew what his, preferences were. She knew. She's totally manipulating him. She was doing all kind of weird wild monkey sex. She got him all messed up in the head too, right? But he just simply said, I don't like those little people crawling on me. I don't like when my wife yells at me. I think it's better at this apartment. It's more quiet. And I think this is where I want to stay. I don't think I want to stay there with those people. And that's why he did what he did, y'all. Y'all may not like it. It may not fit with your idea of what, family, murder is. But that is what happens in the case of a primary psychopath. All right. So, I'm not sure how you feel about it. I think you might enjoy going over and listening to the. Oh, I lost my video. I think you might enjoy going over and listening to Megyn Kelly's, what I call her summer crime spree. I'm just saying that in jest, people. Your browser has blocked your screen. Why? Why would you block my screen? Can y'all see my screen? That's very strange. Weird. Can y'all see it? If you can see the screen, put a 1. I'm getting an error message for some very strange. What's about actually? I'm having all kinds of computer problems. Okay. Also, let me say this. I have had people leaving me messages saying, oh, your audio was so bad. We couldn't hear you. I wish I could have heard it better. I wish, it could have been different. I wish it could have been too. I absolutely have to have a new microphone. I recognize that my microphone is not working like it's supposed to. And I also recognize that I haven't really worked in 3 weeks. I've been able to do a little bit on some days, but I have no money right now. When I say I have no money, I'm not kidding. So until I can get back full time, get back to working, make some paychecks, we have to power through with the microphone I have. So I apologize. I know that it's not optimal. I am very sorry, but I promise you it's on the top of my list of my next purchase. Okay? I'm going to get a nice microphone. I don't know what happened. I mean, this is a nice, expensive, nice microphone. I'm not sure what's gone wrong, but maybe it's my computer. Maybe I need to get a new computer. I don't know, but we'll deal with that later. So for today, in the case of Christopher Lee Watts hating Shanann, that is incorrect in my opinion. I firmly believe that Christopher Watts is a primary psychopath and that he did not have not an ounce of hate in his heart. I think he was just like a happy snake. The Nicole Kessinger tree was a nice tree, and he liked it much better than the Shanann Watts tree, where there was a lot of chaos and there was a lot of demands and there was never any time to just relax. And so the snake decided to be in the Nicole Kessinger tree. And so he bit the loud, chaotic people so then he could leave and go to the Nicole Kessinger tree. I think it was that simple. And I think that is as far as he got, judging by the interrogation by Tammy Lee and Graham, that he didn't even think his way through how he was going to get out of it. I think this guy was seriously afflicted by the disruption in frontal lobe. And I think that he was brilliant. I think he had high IQ. But I don't think in any way did he feel an authentic connection to anyone, except maybe his dad. But even in that case, I think it was more utilitarian that he ran to his dad whenever he had a problem, and his dad was the guy that fixed it. And that is Psychopaths Are Us.
Hold me closer when we face this magic spell you cast. This is La Vie en Roses. When you kiss me, heaven sighs, and though I close my eyes, I see la vie en roses. When you press me to your heart, I'm in a world apart, a world of roses bloom. And when you speak, angels sing from above. Everyday words seem to turn into love songs. Give your heart and soul to me, and life will always be la vie en rose.